The vast emptiness of space surrounded the Earth exploration vessel Horizon as it glided through the outer edges of the Scylla Nebula. The colorful gases swirled beyond the viewports, creating patterns of purple, blue, and green against the blackness of space. Captain Alan Wright stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the natural light show with quiet appreciation. "Beautiful, isn't it?" he said to no one in particular. The bridge crew worked at their stations, the soft beeping of computers and occasional voice commands, the only sounds breaking the peaceful atmosphere. They were 3 months into their scientific mission, collecting data on the unusual radiation patterns that made the Scylla Nebula famous across known space. Lisa Green sat at the communications station, adjusting her headset as she monitored the frequencies. Her eyes narrowed as an unusual pattern caught her attention. She adjusted the settings, trying to clear up the signal. "Captain," she called out, her voice cutting through the quiet hum of the bridge. "I'm picking up something strange." Alan walked over to her station. "What have you got?" "It's faint, but it doesn't match any known pattern in our database. It's repeating in precise intervals." Lisa's fingers moved quickly over her console. "The computer thinks it's artificial." Alan leaned closer to look at the display. "Can you clean it up?" "Working on it, sir." The science officer, a tall man named Paul Rivera, joined them at the communication station. His curiosity was evident in his eager expression. "Could be a new phenomenon," he suggested. "The nebula creates all sorts of unusual energy patterns." Lisa shook her head. "No, this is definitely a signal. Hold on." She pressed a few more buttons, and suddenly a strange sound filled the bridge. It was like nothing the crew had ever heard before, a series of high-pitched tones that rose and fell in a complex pattern. "Run it through the translation matrix," Alan ordered. The Galactic Union had provided Earth with basic translation technology when humans first ventured beyond their solar system 30 years ago. It was limited, but it might give them some clues. A minute passed before the ship's computer responded. Signal identified as distress beacon. Origin, Varaxian fleet vessels. Message, critical systems failure. Life support compromised. Requesting immediate assistance. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. The Varaxians were one of the oldest species in the Galactic Union, known for their advanced technology and reclusive nature. Humans had never made direct contact with them before. "Varaxians? Out here?" Paul's voice was filled with surprise. "They never venture this far from the Union core worlds." "How many ships?" Alan asked. Lisa checked her readings. "The signal suggests 17 vessels, large ones." Alan's expression grew serious. "Life signs?" "The computer estimates over 10,000 individuals based on the distress signal parameters. 10,000 lives at risk." Alan didn't hesitate. "Plot a course to the signal origin. Maximum safe speed." The navigation officer, Eric Baker, turned in his chair. "Sir, that would take us deeper into the nebula. The radiation levels increase significantly past our current position." "I'm aware of that, Mr. Baker. Proceed." "Yes, sir." As the Horizon changed course, Alan returned to his command chair and opened a channel to the engineering section. "Chief Peterson, I need all the power you can give to our shields. We're heading deeper into the nebula." The voice of Doug Peterson, the ship's chief engineer, came through the speaker. "The shields weren't designed for prolonged exposure to that kind of radiation, Captain. I can give you maybe 6 hours before we start seeing systems degradation." "What you can, Chief. We've got people in trouble out there." Alan then opened a channel to Earth Command. "This is Captain Wright of the EEV Horizon. We've intercepted a distress signal from what appears to be a Varaxian fleet stranded in the Scylla Nebula. We are moving to investigate and render assistance. Request additional ships if available. We'll update as situation develops. Write out." He knew it would be hours before Earth Command received his message, and days before any reinforcements could reach them. The Horizon was on its own for now. As the ship pushed deeper into the nebula, the colorful gases outside grew more intense, sometimes flaring with bursts of radiation that made the shields flicker visibly. The bridge crew worked with focused determination, each person aware of the risk they were taking. "I've got visual," announced Eric after 40 minutes of careful navigation. Putting it on screen now. The main view screen flickered to life, showing a sight that left the entire bridge crew speechless. Against the backdrop of swirling nebula gases floated 17 massive ships. They were unlike any vessels humans had seen before. Their hulls appeared to be made of a crystalline material that reflected the nebula's colors, making them look like enormous jewels suspended in space, but several of them were clearly damaged with dark patches where their hulls had been breached. "My God," whispered Lisa. "They're huge." Alan studied the ships with a mixture of awe and concern. Each one must be at least 3 times the size of our largest colony ships. Paul was already scanning the alien vessels. "Their propulsion systems appear to be completely offline, and I'm detecting unusual radiation signatures coming from their hulls. It's as if they're reacting with the nebula somehow." "Can we communicate with them?" Alan asked. Lisa nodded. "I think so. The translation matrix should be able to convert basic concepts, at least enough to let them know we're here to help. Open a channel." Lisa worked at her console, then nodded to Alan. "This is Captain Alan Wright of the Earth exploration vessel Horizon. We received your distress signal and are here to offer assistance. Please respond." For a long moment there was nothing. Then, the view screen changed to show a being unlike anything the humans had ever seen. It appeared to be made of the same crystalline material as the ships, with a body that seemed to pulse with internal light. Where a face should be, there was only a complex arrangement of light patterns that shifted and changed as the being moved. The translation matrix struggled to convert the flashes of light into words, but eventually, a stilted message came through the speakers. "Earth beings, your presence unexpected. The Union warned us. Primitive technology. Why do you come? How can you survive here?" Alan stood up straight, facing the alien communication with calm dignity. "We may be new to the stars, but we help those in need. That's what humans do. Tell us how we can assist you." The light patterns on the alien's body shifted rapidly. The translation came through. "Our quantum drives, disabled by nebula radiation, life support failing, no rescue, possible. Union ships cannot enter nebula." Alan exchanged a quick glance with Paul, who nodded in understanding. "Our ships use a different propulsion system. The nebula radiation doesn't affect our engines the same way. We may be able to help you." There was a pause before the alien responded. "Impossible. Your technology, too simple." A small smile touched Alan's lips. "Sometimes simple is exactly what you need. We'll send over a team to assess your situation. With your permission, of course." The alien's lights pulsed in what might have been confusion or surprise. "You would risk yourselves?" "That's what humans do," Alan repeated firmly. "We help." As the Horizon moved closer to the stranded alien fleet, Alan knew they were making history. The first direct human contact with the Varaxians wouldn't be in some formal Galactic Union meeting, but here, in the dangerous beauty of the Scylla Nebula, with thousands of lives hanging in the balance. He looked at his crew, each person ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. "Let's show the galaxy what humanity can do," he said quietly. The small shuttle from the Horizon approached the largest of the Varaxian ships. Chief Engineer Doug Peterson checked the radiation levels on his tablet and frowned. "The readings are off the charts," he said to Paul Rivera, who sat beside him. "Their ships are absorbing the nebula's radiation like sponges." Paul nodded as he studied his own readings. "Their hull material seems to have properties we've never seen before. It's almost like it's alive in some way." The shuttle pilot, a young woman named Olivia Jones, guided the craft toward a glowing section of the alien vessel that appeared to be a docking bay. Captain Allen had remained on the Horizon, coordinating with Earth Command while sending his best team to make first contact. "Remember," Paul told the 6-person team, "we don't know how these beings perceive reality. Stay calm, move slowly, and follow my lead." As the shuttle entered the docking bay, They saw that the interior of the Varaxian ship glowed with the same crystalline light as the beings themselves. Everything, the walls, the floor, what appeared to be control panels, seemed to be made of the same material. "It's like being inside a giant geode," whispered Karen Martinez, the linguistics specialist who had come to help with communication. The air was breathable according to their instruments, so the team cautiously removed their helmets after the shuttle doors opened. They were met by 3 Varaxians, each about 7 feet tall with bodies that resembled humanoid shapes made of semi-transparent crystal. Light pulsed through their forms in complex patterns, and they moved with an elegant, flowing motion. Karen activated her portable translation device as the tallest Varaxian approached. Its light patterns flashed rapidly. "They say they are the Ship Council," Karen translated. "This one calls itself..." The closest translation would be Harmonious Light Seeker. "It thanks us for coming but says it's confused by our presence." Paul stepped forward and bowed slightly. "We are honored to meet you. We want to help if we can." The translation device conveyed his words and the light patterns on the Varaxian shifted. "It says their people have never had direct contact with humans before," Karen explained. "The Galactic Union told them we were a young species with primitive technology." She listened to more flashing lights. "They're asking how we survived entering the nebula when even their advanced ships could not." Doug stepped forward with his tablet. "May I explain?" When Paul nodded, Doug used simple diagrams to show the Varaxian their propulsion system. "Our engines are simpler than yours. We use nuclear fusion to create thrust. The radiation in the nebula doesn't affect them the same way it affects your quantum drives." The Varaxians' light patterns became more intense as they communicated among themselves. Finally, the leader's patterns shifted toward Karen. "They're amazed," she translated. "They say sometimes the oldest solutions work when the newest fail." Medical. Officer Susan Miller had been scanning the aliens with her medical equipment. Her face showed concern as she approached Paul. "These beings are suffering from radiation poisoning," she said quietly. "Their crystalline biology is absorbing the nebula's radiation, and it's slowly killing them." Paul's expression grew serious. "How long do they have?" "Based on these readings, 2 weeks at most before the damage becomes irreversible." Paul turned to the Varaxians. "We need to see your engines. And I would like our medical officer to explain what she's discovered about your people's condition." The Varaxians led the human team deeper into the ship. The corridors were wide, with flowing designs that seemed to be both artistic and functional. They passed rooms where hundreds of Varaxians lay in still formations, their light patterns very faint. "The sick ones," Karen translated as the leader explained. "Our young and elders suffer first." In the engine room, Doug found himself staring at technology far beyond human understanding. The massive quantum drive core took up a space the size of 3 basketball courts, but it sat dark and lifeless. "The nebula's radiation has completely reversed the polarity of their drive systems," Doug explained after running several tests. "It would take months to repair this engine even with the right parts, and they don't have months." Back on the horizon, Captain Allen received the team's report with a grave expression. "Options?" he asked. "We can't fix their engines in time," Doug said over the communication link, "but I might have another idea. Their ships are designed to link together in emergencies. If we could tow just one ship out of the nebula, the others could attach to it." "Tow it?" Allen asked. "The horizon isn't built for that kind of strain." "No, sir, but if we called in every ship Earth has near this sector and rigged up some kind of distributed towing system." Allen thought for a moment, then nodded. "I'll contact Earth Command immediately. How many ships would we need?" "Hundreds," Doug replied. "Their smallest vessel is about 5 times our mass." Allen's face showed determination rather than defeat. "Then we'll get hundreds." He turned to his communication officer. "Open a priority channel to Earth and prepare a message to be broadcast to every human ship within 3 light-years of our position." Within hours, the response began to flood in. Cargo ships, mining vessels, research craft, and military patrols, all responding to the call for help. Earth Command authorized Operation Tugboat Armada, a name that made Captain Allen smile despite the seriousness of the situation. We'll need to design special towing cables that can withstand both the radiation and the stress, Doug told the engineering team that was growing as more human ships arrived at the edge of the nebula. The Varaxians watched the gathering human fleet with growing light patterns that Karen said indicated amazement. The ship council would like to speak with you, she told Alan when he finally came aboard the alien vessel. They've never seen species cooperate like this. The Varaxian leaders. Light patterns were strong and steady as it communicated with Alan. Your people come, without hesitation. The Union debates for days when crisis happens. How do you decide so quickly? Alan thought about his answer carefully. Humans have a saying. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. We believe that helping others isn't something to debate, it's something you just do. The Varaxian's lights shifted in a pattern Karen had not seen before. It says, I think the closest translation is, your species carries wisdom beyond your years. Over the next few days, more human ships arrived until over 300 vessels of various sizes and designs hovered at the edge of the nebula. Engineers from all the ships worked together to create a system of radiation-hardened cables and distributed towing harnesses. On the day the operation was set to begin, Alan stood on the bridge of the horizon and looked at the view screen showing the massive human fleet and the stranded Varaxian ships beyond them in the colorful gases of the nebula. I never thought I'd see something like this, said Lisa Green, standing beside him. Every ship we have, working together. Alan nodded. Sometimes, it takes a crisis to show us what we're capable of. He took a deep breath and opened the communication channel to the fleet. All ships, this is Captain Alan Wright. Operation Tugboat Armada is now underway. Good luck to us all. As the human vessels moved deeper into the nebula to begin the greatest rescue mission in Earth's history, no one knew if they would succeed. But they all knew they had to try. The nebula glowed around the human fleet as they moved into position. 342 ships of all sizes formed a complex pattern around the smallest of the Varaxian vessels. Engineers in spacesuits floated between ships, connecting the specially designed cables to create a network that would distribute the strain of towing. On the bridge of the horizon, Captain Allen watched the operation through the main view screen. Status report, he called out. All ships report ready, Captain, said Lisa. Towing cables are secured and holding. Allen took a deep breath. This was the moment of truth. If their plan failed, they wouldn't get a second chance. The Varaxians were growing weaker by the day as the nebula's radiation affected their crystalline bodies. Open a channel to all ships, Allen ordered. When Lisa nodded, he spoke clearly and calmly. This is Captain Wright. On my mark, all ships engage engines at 10% power. We'll increase by 5% every 2 minutes until we reach maximum safe thrust. Remember, we need to move together. Ready, Mark. Throughout the fleet, engines flared to life. The massive network of cables went tight as the combined force of 300 ships pulled against the weight of the Varaxian vessel. No movement. Yet, reported Eric from the navigation station. Increasing to 15% power. In engineering, Doug Peterson and his team monitored the strain on the horizon systems. Shields holding at 80%, he reported over the comm. Hull, stress within acceptable parameters. 2 more power increases came and went with no visible movement of the alien ship. Allen began to worry that their plan wouldn't work. Then, as the fleet reached 30% power, Eric shouted, "We've got movement. The Varaxian ship is starting to move." A cheer went up across the bridge. Allen allowed himself a small smile before focusing again on the task at hand. Steady as she goes, increased to 35%. The progress was painfully slow. At full power, the human fleet moved the Varaxian ship at barely 1/8 of normal cruising speed. Calculations showed it would take nearly 4 days to tow the ship clear of the nebula. We'll need to rotate crews, Allen told his officers. Set up 6-hour shifts, no one stays on duty longer than that. The radiation exposure adds up. On the second day, disaster struck. A sudden radiation surge from the nebula overwhelmed the shields on 3 smaller ships near the front of the formation. Their engines failed, and the uneven pull threatened to snap the entire towing network. "Cut them loose," Alan ordered. Rescue teams, move in and get those crews out. Quick action by nearby ships prevented a complete failure, but the loss of 3 ships slowed their progress even further. The rescued crew members were taken to the Horizon's medical bay, where Susan Miller and her team treated them for radiation exposure. How bad is it? Alan asked when he visited the medical bay. Susan looked tired but determined. They'll recover, but they can't go back out there. We're seeing more radiation effects than we expected. The towing cables are channeling some of it back to our ships. Alan nodded grimly. Keep me updated. He left the medical bay and went to the ship's mess hall, where he found Doug working on calculations with several other engineers. We need to strengthen the shields on the ships in the front lines, Doug said without looking up from his tablet. I think we can reconfigure our shield generators to create a kind of radiation barrier. Will it work? Alan asked. Doug finally looked up, his eyes red from lack of sleep. It has to. We've still got 3 more days of towing ahead of us. On the 3rd day, a message arrived from Earth. The planet had been monitoring the situation, and scientists had been working around the clock to help. They sent new shield configurations that, when implemented, reduced radiation exposure by 30%. They also sent news that made Alan call the Varaxian leaders to the communication room of their ship. Karen stood beside him operating the translation device. More help is coming, Alan told the Varaxians. Earth has coordinated with other human colonies and outposts. Another 200 ships will arrive tomorrow. The Varaxian leaders' light patterns pulsed with what Karen interpreted as surprise and gratitude. Why, do all your people come? They do not know us. Alan smiled. Because today it's you who need help. Tomorrow it might be us. Late on the 4th day, with the nebula's edge tantalizingly close, another radiation surge hit the fleet. This time, 5 ships lost power, and one of the main towing cables snapped. Emergency stop, Alan ordered. All ships, cut engines. The sudden halt caused the Varaxian ship to drift, putting dangerous strain on the remaining cables. Engineering. Status report. Doug's voice came through, filled with static. We're losing the network, Captain. The surge fried the coupling nodes. We need to reconnect, but the radiation levels out there are too high for our suits. The situation looked desperate. When a message came from the Varaxian ship, Karen translated quickly, her eyes widening. Captain, they're sending out their own people. The Varaxians say their bodies can withstand short exposures better than our suits can. Through the view screen, Alan watched in amazement as dozens of Varaxians emerged from their vessel, their crystalline bodies glowing as they moved through space without suits. They worked with incredible speed, reconnecting cables and stabilizing the network. They're using themselves as conductors, Doug reported in awe. They're channeling the radiation away from our coupling points. Within an hour, the towing network was repaired, and the Varaxians returned to their ship. Their light patterns were noticeably dimmer, and Susan reported that they had absorbed dangerous levels of radiation. They risked themselves for us, Alan said quietly. The fleet resumed towing, and on the 5th day, the front ships finally cleared the nebula's edge. A cheer went up across all human vessels as they pulled the Varaxian ship into clear space. The moment the alien ship was free of the nebula's effects, its systems began to reactivate. The crystalline hull glowed brighter, and internal lights pulsed throughout its structure. They're stabilizing, Susan reported after scanning the ship. Now that they're out of the radiation field, their natural healing processes are kicking in. The Varaxian leader requested to speak with Alan. When he arrived at the communication room, he found the aliens' light patterns stronger and more vibrant than before. My people owe you life, the translator conveyed. The Union said, humans are simple. We now see they are wrong. Simple tools, complex hearts. The rest of the Varaxian fleet still waited in the nebula. With the first ship safely out, they could now implement the 2nd phase of the plan. The rescued ship would extend its own towing capabilities, and together with the human fleet, they would pull out the next vessel. As Alan watched the Varaxian ship power up its systems to help rescue its companions, He felt a sense of pride in what they had accomplished, not just saving lives but building a bridge between species that had never before met. "We did what anyone would do," he told the Varaxian leader. The aliens' lights flickered and what Karen said was their version of disagreement. "No," the translation came. "You did what only humans would do." News of the successful rescue of the first Varaxian ship spread quickly across Earth and its colonies. More ships arrived daily to join the effort, bringing fresh crews and improved equipment. The operation had become the largest coordinated space mission in human history. The Varaxian ship that had been rescued was now helping to save its companions. Its crystal structure glowed with renewed energy as it extended long, shimmering tethers toward the nebula. "Their towing technology is amazing," Doug said as he watched from the Horizon's observation deck. "Those energy tethers can pull with 10 times the force of our cables." Captain Allen nodded. "With their help, we should be able to extract the remaining ships much faster." The second rescue went more smoothly than the first. The combined force of the human fleet and the Varaxian ship pulled another vessel free in just 2 days. As each ship escaped the nebula, it joined the rescue effort, creating a growing chain of assistance. By the end of the second week, 7 Varaxian ships had been rescued. The operation had settled into a rhythm, with human and alien crews working side by side. But the remaining 10 ships were deeper in the nebula, where radiation levels were higher and the rescue would be more dangerous. On the bridge of the Horizon, Allen studied the latest sensor readings with concern. "The radiation is increasing. The nebula seems to be entering an active phase." "The Varaxians say this happens every few decades," Lisa explained. "It's why they normally avoid this region of space. They were taking a desperate shortcut to escape something worse." "What could be worse than this?" Eric wondered. Lisa's expression was serious. "They haven't said, but whatever it was, they risked their entire species to avoid it." Allen made a decision. "Contact all ships. We need to speed up the operation, cut rest periods by half. I want the next ship out within 24 hours. The human captains and crews responded without complaint, pushing themselves and their vessels to the limit. The Varaxians worked alongside them, their light patterns growing dimmer with each passing hour as they absorbed more radiation. During a rare break, Allen found himself in the Horizon's mess hall with Susan, who looked exhausted. "How are the Varaxians? Holding up?" he asked. Susan shook her head. "Not well. Their biology can handle more radiation than ours, but they've been exposed for weeks now. The ones working outside the ships are sacrificing themselves. Can we help them?" "I've been working with their medical specialists. They have a regeneration process, but it requires specific energy frequencies." Susan showed Allen her tablet, displaying a complex pattern of light waves. "If we could generate these frequencies on a large scale, we might be able to help them recover faster." Allen immediately called Doug to join them. The engineer studied the pattern, his tired eyes lighting up with interest. "Our shield generators," he said. "We could modify them to emit these frequencies instead of standard protective fields." "Would it work?" Allen asked. Doug nodded slowly. "It's possible, but it would mean lowering our own protection while inside the nebula." Allen didn't hesitate. "Do it. Coordinate with all ships. Those not actively involved in towing can convert their shields first to treat the Varaxians." The plan was implemented within hours. Human ships formed a protective ring around the rescued Varaxian vessels, their modified shields bathing the crystalline aliens in healing energy. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The Varaxians' light patterns brightened, and their movement became more fluid. The rescue operation continued with renewed energy. The 8th and 9th Varaxian ships were pulled free on the same day, but as they prepared to rescue the 10th ship, disaster struck. A massive radiation wave surged through the nebula, overwhelming the shields of dozens of human ships. Emergency alarms blared across the fleet as systems failed and radiation flooded into vessel interiors. "Multiple ships reporting critical failures," Lisa called out, her voice steady despite the chaos. "We have wounded and ships adrift." Allen made the hardest decision of his career. "Fall back," he ordered. All ships withdraw to the edge of the nebula. As the fleet retreated, the Varaxians made an unexpected move. The 9 rescued ships formed a line and extended their energy tethers deep into the nebula, reaching for their stranded companions. "What are they doing?" Eric asked, watching the screen in amazement. "They're going in alone," Alan realized. "They're trying to finish the rescue without us." The Varaxian ships strained against the pull of the nebula. Their crystalline hulls cracked under the pressure, but still they maintained their tethers. One by one, they pulled the remaining vessels toward safety. Alan watched, torn between admiration and concern. "They can't handle that much radiation. We have to help them." "Our ships are too damaged," Doug reported. "We need time to repair." "We don't have time," Alan said firmly. "If we don't help now, they'll die saving each other." He opened a channel to the fleet. "This is Captain Wright. I'm calling for volunteers. We need ships with functioning engines to return to the nebula." The response was immediate. Despite the danger, ship after ship reported their willingness to go back. Many were damaged, their crews injured, but they refused to abandon the Varaxians. "Humanity at its finest," Lisa said softly. The human ships formed a new pattern, positioning themselves to take strain off the Varaxian tethers. With combined effort, they managed to extract 3 more ships before another radiation wave forced them back. In the aftermath, floating in safe space at the nebula's edge, human and Varaxian worked together to assess the damage. 5 human ships had been lost, their crews evacuated to other vessels. 3 Varaxian ships had suffered critical damage to their structures. Susan moved from ship to ship, coordinating medical care for both species. The Varaxians had opened their vessels to human wounded, using their advanced healing technology to treat radiation sickness. On the Horizon's bridge, Alan received a transmission from Earth. The message was simple. "Reinforcements coming. Hold position." Within hours, the first of a new wave of ships appeared. Earth had sent everything it could spare. Military vessels, research ships, even passenger liners converted for rescue work. The new arrivals brought fresh supplies, replacement parts, and most importantly, specialized radiation equipment. Earth. "Command has been working with scientists around the planet," Lisa reported as she read the incoming messages. "They've developed new shielding technology based on what we've learned from the Varaxians." The mood across the fleet lifted. With 7 Varaxian ships still trapped in the nebula, the mission was far from complete. But for the first time, Alan felt certain they would succeed. The Varaxian leader requested to speak with him. When they met in the communication room, the aliens' light patterns were weak but determined. "Your people risk much," the translation came. "For strangers." Alan smiled. "Not strangers anymore. Friends." The Varaxians' lights pulsed gently. "Then as friends, we finished together." As human and Varaxian ships prepared for the final push to rescue the remaining vessels, Alan looked out at the nebula. Its beautiful colors hid deadly danger. But against that danger, 2 species from opposite sides of the galaxy had found common ground in courage and sacrifice. The final phase of the rescue operation began at dawn, Earth time. Over 700 human ships now surrounded the nebula's edge, alongside the 10 Varaxian vessels that had already been saved. The remaining 7 alien ships were deep within the nebula, their light patterns growing fainter each day. Captain Allen stood on the bridge of the Horizon, his uniform wrinkled from days without proper rest. Earth Command had offered to replace him with a fresh captain, but he had refused. He would see this mission through to the end. "All ships report ready, Captain," said Lisa, who had also refused to leave her post. Alan nodded. "Open a channel to both fleets." When the channel opened, Alan spoke clearly and with determination. "This is Captain Wright. Today we finish what we started. The new radiation shields have been installed on all frontline vessels. The Varaxians have shared their tether technology with our engineering teams. Together, we will bring everyone home." The plan was more complex than before. Human and Varaxian ships would work in pairs, combining their technologies to create a rescue system more powerful than either could manage alone. Each pair would target a specific stranded vessel, creating 7 rescue teams that would move in simultaneously. The Horizon was paired with the largest Varaxian ship, a magnificent crystal vessel that the humans had nicknamed Big Diamond. They would attempt to rescue the deepest stranded ship, which carried the Varaxian historical archives and youngest children. "Begin the approach," Alan ordered. The paired fleets moved into the nebula, their new combined shields glowing brilliantly against the colorful gases. The radiation was worse than ever. Sensors showed levels that would have instantly destroyed the human ships just weeks ago. But the new shields, developed by combining Earth science with Varaxian crystal technology, held firm. The rescue teams pushed deeper, maintaining constant communication. 3 pairs reached their target ships quickly and began the towing process. 2 more made contact shortly after, but Alan's team and 1 other had to venture into the heart of the nebula. "Radiation approaching critical levels," reported Eric from the navigation station. "The shields are holding, but they're draining our power reserves fast." Beside the Horizon, the Varaxian ship extended its energy tethers, reaching toward their target. The human vessel matched its movements, their combined systems creating a stable corridor through the worst of the radiation. "I have visual contact," Eric announced, putting it on screen. The image that appeared shocked everyone on the bridge. The target ship was barely recognizable. Its once beautiful crystal structure was dark and fractured, with only the faintest pulses of light showing that anyone still lived aboard. "Life signs?" Alan asked quietly. Susan, monitoring from the medical bay, responded. "Very weak but present. The children are in some kind of protective stasis. The adult crew," her voice faltered, "they've absorbed lethal amounts of radiation, protecting the young." Alan's jaw tightened. "Let's not waste their sacrifice. Extend our towing cables. Match them precisely with the Varaxian tethers." The Horizon shuddered as its cables locked onto the damaged vessel. The strain was immediate and severe, systems throughout the ship groaning under the pressure. "Hull integrity at 70% and falling," reported Doug from engineering. "We can't maintain this for long, Captain." "We don't need long," Alan replied. "Just long enough." The 6 other rescue teams reported successful connections to their target ships. All 7 vessels began to move slowly at first, then with gathering speed as the combined power of the human Varaxian pairs overcame the nebula's grasp. Everything seemed to be working until a final, massive radiation wave rolled through the nebula. Alarms blared across the horizon as the shield generators overloaded. "Shields failing," called Eric. "Radiation levels rising on all decks." Alan made a split-second decision. Divert all power to the towing systems. Abandon the shields. Lisa looked at him in shock. "Captain, without shields—" "I know," Alan cut her off. "But we're almost there. Order all non-essential personnel to the radiation shelters." As the shields failed, deadly radiation flooded the ship. The bridge crew remained at their posts, knowing what it might cost them. On the screen, they could see their Varaxian partner ship doing the same, its crystal structure darkening as it absorbed the radiation that would have hit the Horizon. "They're protecting us," Alan realized. "Divert whatever power we have left to the engines, full thrust." With one final tremendous effort, the 7 rescue teams pulled the stranded ships from the nebula's heart. One by one, they crossed the invisible boundary into safe space. The Horizon was the last to emerge, towing the precious cargo of Varaxian children and archives. As they cleared the nebula, cheers erupted across the human fleet. All 17 Varaxian vessels were now safe. But the victory came at a high price. Dozens of human ships had suffered severe damage. Hundreds of crew members, including Alan and his bridge crew, had been exposed to dangerous levels of radiation. In the days that followed, the Varaxians revealed why they had risked the dangerous journey through the nebula in the first place. Their home system had been threatened by an approaching neutron star, forcing them to evacuate their entire civilization. They had been searching for a new home when they became trapped. 2 weeks after the final rescue, a formal ceremony was held aboard the largest Varaxian vessel. Despite still recovering from radiation sickness, Alan attended, along with representatives from Earth and the other human colonies. The Varaxian leader, its light patterns now restored to full brightness, addressed the gathering. Karen translated the flowing light patterns into words. Our people wandered for generations searching for a place to call home. We found only danger and then despair in the nebula. But in our darkest moment, we also found humanity. The aliens, lights pulsed with emotion. Today, we ask to journey no further. We ask to make our new home here, among the people who saved us. Earth's representatives didn't hesitate. The agreement was signed immediately, granting the Varaxians the right to settle in an uninhabited system near Earth. In return, they would share their crystal technology, which promised advances in medicine, energy, and space travel. 6 months later, Alan stood at a viewport on Earth's largest space station, watching as the first permanent Varaxian settlement took shape. The crystalline structures caught the light of the system's sun, sending rainbows dancing across the observation deck. Lisa joined him, still walking carefully as she recovered from her radiation exposure. "Beautiful, isn't it?" she said. Alan nodded. "More than that. It's a beginning." Below them, Earth turned slowly, its blue oceans and green continents peaceful in the darkness of space. But the planet was changing. Varaxian crystal technology had already revolutionized Earth's energy systems. Human medical techniques were helping the aliens adapt to their new home. "I received a message from the Varaxian High Council today," Alan said. "They've named their new capital city Rights Landing," Lisa smiled, "fitting, in schools across the Earth, and in the new Varaxian settlement. Children of both species learned the story of the Nebula rescue. Human children marveled at the crystal beings who could survive in space without suits. Varaxian youngsters studied the strange creatures who had risked everything to save strangers. And in the darkness between the stars, other species of the Galactic Union took notice. The humans, it seemed, were not so primitive after all.